What up, y'all? Welcome back to Empowering Real Talk. It is your girl, Coach K, and I'm back with another dope session, baby. Before we get started, y'all know what I'm going to ask. Please make sure you have subscribed to the Upgraded Mindsets YouTube channel. If you are listening on any podcast platform, make sure that you are favoriting the podcast on that platform as well so you don't miss another episode, okay? Because as I tell y'all, these conversations are super necessary. So, before I get started, I'm gonna go ahead and let my guest introduce herself. What's going on, baby?
Hey, I'm Marsha Evans, M to the E, and you know that's me. Thank you for having me on. I'm
Absolutely.
I'm a licensed professional counselor, but I'm just me. And
Dang. I
cannot.
love that. I love that your initials is ME, baby. That is so dope. Like, and I love how you branded that. I love it. I love it, sis. Absolutely. So well, y'all don't know, but me and Marsha share in similarities when it comes to talking about this right here, baby. This is where everything begins. So I'm super excited to kind of dive into that with her today, but also to kind of give you guys some valuable resource tips and kind of talk about our journeys, but also to give you insight to help you on your journey as well. So sit down, put your headphones on, plug them on in, do whatever it is you got to do, baby, because these are the conversations that you want to hear about. So, Marshall, please let my listeners know kind of your backstory with you, kind of, where you at, where you grew up, all that good stuff. We want to know.
So I grew up outside of Washington, D.C., and I'm actually the first generation in upper class. So my parents came from working class, and so a lot of the work ethics, the things that he instilled in me came from the working class mentality. Um, and so oftentimes when I was navigating certain spaces, I would feel like an outcast because my mom was the first one to go to college. My dad had a couple years of college under his belt, but I was just starting out in this class that I think a lot of my friends were in, that I just had to understand both of them. And so just kind of like navigating that. I played basketball in college. I played all sports. I was a very busy person.
Hey, I love it.
But at age 12, I was like, I'm going to get a basketball scholarship so my parents don't have to pay for it, pay for school because they were doing the heavy lifting now as I was a kid, and so I just wanted to pay them back. And so I did that. And actually, um, my junior year team, we won championship and we actually just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. My college, yep,
Hey.
so just somebody who just kind of works hard, puts their head down, and just kind of navigating that space and not allowing trials and tribulations to weigh me down, but just kind of looking at them from a positive standpoint.
Yeah.
Is something that I've always done. Sometimes I do get in my head and that hurts, like
Yeah.
you know. And so there's one word that I've lived by is determination. And I've
Mhm.
by that word probably since I've been 15.
Love, just thank you so much for kicking that off with a triumph, baby, because that is so dope. I'm glad to that you were able to share that with the listeners, because like even like with that, your 12-year-old self, you had that mindset of, hey, I'm going to make it for y'all. I'm going to, make it through. Like, did you ever feel like there was any pressure, from family or, things like that, or just was it from what you were actually seeing and experiencing growing up?
Well, that's a good question. I knew college was like an unspoken I needed to and I had to, especially for my mom, like more for my mom for her because of her upbringing, she didn't want me to rely on a man. And
Mm,
so at a young age, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get married between 28 and 31, so I know how to take care of myself. So it was not necessarily the pressure of my family, but it was the pressure of making sure that I can take care of myself, making sure that like that was my mom really, really like kind of like made sure that that was injected into me. And I think that there's nothing wrong with being independent, but at the same time, it didn't, it, I, she grew an alpha woman, which a lot of times you're not going to attract the type of man that you want because it's going to be hard to have an alpha man and alpha woman.
yeah. Yeah.
And so what I had to learn was probably since in the relationship I'm in now is how to be submissive and how to have somebody who compliments me, not necessarily supplements, but I had to really learn that. And as I learned that, I learned how to really lean into my feminine. So playing basketball, playing soccer, bowling, all these things I used to do. Um, I was very androgynous, I was very much a tomboy. And so I just had to, I'm glad my mom instilled certain things, but I think it made it hard for me to really be like attract other women, attract other females to be a part of my sisterhood and like just navigate that. So I'm glad that I'm not like, oh, I wish I would do it differently.
Right.
What had happened was it just made me lean and go towards my masculine and lean into my right side, which from a relationship standpoint, it wouldn't have attracted the man that I needed, or even a man for that matter, because I was in their same lane with that, you
Woo,
know.
baby, I
So,
can relate. I can relate so much with that, because I grew up playing basketball, and then high school, I got a little, fast in the tail, but I was a very dominant girl. Like, I was such a tomboy. I got the scars on my knees from climbing some trees, like all of that, sis. You know what I'm saying? And like, because of like me not having anybody to try to instill anything, my grandmother was like, hey, you're going to do what you want to do regardless. She loved me, but there was no pressure. So I didn't have anyone to actually say, hey, you better do what you got to do to come up and do the things. But like, I was a very masculine girl and I'm still a very assertive girl, but I love that the mindset transformation that I have taken started in 2020 has allowed me to know what the balances are.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And that is so dope to me because somebody will hear me talk and be like, girl, you ain't feminine, but let me tell you something. My baby say, hey, we align
Right.
very well. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that also has to do with society as well, right? Society has this whole, oh, and especially now, we see it online so much, right? On every other YouTube channel, they talking about masculine and feminine, right? And I get it, but majority of that stuff is clickbait. It's just my personal opinion on that. But I don't really hear people like really diving into the deep rooted seed of like femininity and masculinity, because sometimes you can't describe it. It's more of a feeling. You know what I'm saying?
It is more of a feeling, yeah. And so it's I can say like in these last 5 to 7 years, like leaning into my feminine, especially in the relationship, like there's this part of me that I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have tapped into this a long time ago. Imagine where I would be. And it's just this amazing feeling that I'm like, I don't even want to tap into my masculine. Like I understand the yin and the yang.
Absolutely.
I want to be in that space and love it up. It's just
Better talk about it.
a feeling that I'm like, oh my goodness, are you serious?
Yeah.
I want to find a way to stay in this all the time, not come out for anything, just it's not even, I look at it as it's not even being submissive. It's allowing me to be free, creative, nurturing. It allows me to be in my true, authentic self.
It is. And that helps, like, as a counselor, as a coach. I know that that has like really stepped your game up, because I know we've had conversations before and like you have like really made a lot of changes, like from relocation to like all of that. Do you feel like that has a lot to do with like those shifts?
Yes, so it does because the relocation came at a time when I had this life choice to make, right? And it was something because at that time I'm like checking the boxes off, like, oh, I've gotten my business. Oh, I've bought my house. And then it's like, oh, now I got a man, right? And so life happened and I had to make a choice and a pivot of between, hey, life happened. Do I want to work 60, 70 hours a week? Or do I want to slow down? Do I want to pay off my bills and be able to live life? And so once I did that, sold my house, paid off my bills, I pivoted. And in that pivot, it was pretty dope to come down to where my parents are from. They don't live here, but just to be able to upload and download things about my lineage that I didn't know anything about. And so the wind, the trees, the birds and the bees and the insect just like gave me information that I couldn't get anywhere else. And so once that started like pivoting, it's almost like I got to tap into my maternal like side, the feminine part of it that I think has just been asleep, just has been asleep in so many like different generations because of survival, because of their trauma. And it's just been pretty dope to be where I'm at. I don't work as hard. Like this week, I have no clients starting. It was starting what, Sunday? I don't see clients until next Tuesday. And I'm just like loving it up. You know, July is detox month of like, what do I need to get rid of? How do I, like right now I'm in the detox and just like wellness. How do I make sure that I'm doing what I need to do? What's in my system that I need to get rid of? People, conversations, words, because the vibration is high in words. We don't realize the power of our tongue. If we went to church, they talk about the power of the tongue, but I don't think we really implement that, and so so just pivoting, it's done. I didn't think I would be where I'm at based off the pivot. I didn't like if I had to do it again and everything that I've endured, I would do it again.
Yeah.
Because something that I really live by is when I'm having to make a decision, if my heart and my head is like, which one, what do we need to do? I have trust in both of them. And so if my heart makes the choice, the mind will run after it, will go after it. If my mind makes the choice, the heart will go after it. So I very rarely live with regrets because I have trust in my mind and my heart.
I love that. And I think that that's so important because with that, you trusting that that's an uncomfortable thing, right? And I think we don't like to get uncomfortable. And I listened to something, and it was like a week or two ago, and it was like we have normalized non-difficulty, right? Whereas we need to be understanding that difficulty is a part of the journey, where it's difficult choices, but they still have to be made, right? The fact of getting uncomfortable, I got uncomfortable when I decided to step into full-time entrepreneurship. Was I scared? Hell yeah. Like, I can't turn that fear off. But I look back and it's like you said, no regrets. I have no regrets from everything that led up into where I'm at today, because I can't regret that, because that means I didn't trust the process. That means that I didn't have faith. That means that I didn't understand, and logically I understood. I didn't make any emotional based decisions when it came to this journey because that was the transformation I was on at that time.
Right.
So like even with you making that shift and relocating, that was a logical decision with emotion attached, but it was a logical based decision. Um, how many times have you had conversations? And I know, as a counselor and coach, I know you have probably had them too many to count. But when it comes to having those conversations with people saying, hey, I need you to get uncomfortable. And do you see the pushback? Do you see people that are just ready to say, hey, forget it. I just don't want to do nothing?
Of course, the pushback, right? It's interesting you said, I was just writing something up around this, around like finding your tribe. But yes, there is pushback because we all want comfortability, right? And so a lot of times, like being comfortable with the uncomfortable, you're asking somebody to do something different than their family system.
Come on.
And so if you're asking them to do something different than their family system, we all want to be connected. We are social beings. We all want to be a part of something. So when you're 9 times out of 10, when you ask somebody to be uncomfortable with uncomfortable, you're telling them, hey, I need you to go over in the corner and be by yourself. I need you to go sit with yourself, see your magnificent powers, but at the same time, I need you to see your darkness. I need you to see your negative vibes. We all can, in certain environments, we can all be parasites and toxic, and so a lot of times nobody wants to go sit in the corner. Nobody wants to miss out on things. And so I give them these choices, friends, clients, even family, is that you have 2 choices.
Yeah.
You can stay being comfortable or you can be uncomfortable, but I'm going to tell you this, the universe, God, whatever one believes in, You
Right.
will always continue to get that lesson. It will
Buddy.
always keep coming back and hitting you until you realize you need to go and you're tired of getting hit and you're tired of the same bruise. And a lot of times when you need to make that pivot, it will come day in and day out. So I said, hey, you can continue to be uncomfortable, but do you want to be abused by your like the lack,
Right.
like wanting to be comfortable, you know? And there is some people in the world that, hey, they're supposed to be at that space because they're supposed to teach other people, like, do you want to be that way? Right. And it's just sometimes there's people who sit there and it's nothing wrong with that. But if you're kind of getting dinged with, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And you see a vision and you keep getting red and you keep like, it keeps coming to you, you need to go do it.
You ask for signs to say, hey, I want this to be taken away. I need to be better. I want to be better. And we see these things, but you turn your head. You know what I'm saying? You ignore them. You act like you don't see them. You know good and damn well you see that shit. Like, let's be real. You know good and well you see it, but because it's not how you thought it was going to be.
Right.
It's not how you envisioned it. Oh, I envisioned this perfect exit, and it could be a person, it could be a job, it could be anything. I envision this perfect exit, where I go and I tell them, I'm leaving your crazy job, and because it didn't happen that way, you don't think that it's the right way,
Right.
and like you said, universe, God, whatever it is that you are aligned with, hey, you got to trust them processes. If you feel uncomfortable for you, I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably something that you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's probably something that you're supposed to be doing. And I have those conversations so much. And I've gotten to the point now where if someone gives me pushback, I'm to the point now where I'm like, oh, okay, well, when you're ready, holler back,
Right.
because I can't convince you. I can give you the tools to begin your journey, but you have to be intentional and you have to be actionable in taking your journey, because I'm on my journey. I can't take nobody else's journey.
Exactly. What's for you is for you, and what's for me is for me.
There you go.
It's for you. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And I have normalized being uncomfortable. It's to the point now where when I feel like I'm getting too comfortable, it's time for some reflection. It's time for evaluation. What is it that I could be doing? Because I love that you're in that moment right now. You in detox mode, reflection. Hey, what's going on? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to fall back away from? Like, what is it? We need to be doing that constantly and continuously. And I hear the word self care, right? And it's nothing wrong with that. But I want us to stop putting self care as a luxury, right?
Right.
Self care is a necessity.
Right.
It is every damn day. Every day you wake up, there should be some form of self care. My self care is first 30 minutes of my day is reflecting on me, not social media, not emails, not text, not nothing. It is me. That is my form of self care because that is setting my tone for the day ahead. And I call that self care now. Yeah, I used to call getting my hair done self care and going to the spa and stuff like that. Those are just added luxuries to me. I don't even call that self care anymore.
Yeah. No, I think so. For me, self care, I have a wellness team. So I call it, it's my wellness. And so I just started Pilates.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I like gave myself 3 private sessions. Um, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I like it. And the way that I met the Pilates teacher was I did aerial yoga. So wellness to me, I kind of not use the self-care like trendy word, but it's wellness. So, like today I got adjusted from the chiropractor. The other day I went to Pilates. Yesterday I went to bed early. Like I got into bed at 7 o'clock. And so I'm very aware of what's my wellness plan? How do I detox my inner self? Because I know I've been feeding it stuff that's not good. So from a physical standpoint, food, but also now it's how do I make sure that I am connected to the source? And so it's really about wellness. What part of it is dehydrated? What part of it is hydrated? And so that for me is the wellness team, even people in terms of, hey, this is what's going on. They'll be like, oh, okay, go try this. And so even though I know what I may be experiencing in the body, I make sure that I have experts that can guide me to make sure that I'm not feeling that on a regular basis. So my holistic doctor was like, hey, maybe maybe about a year ago. She's like, "Hey, Marsha, I think you need to put acupuncture back into your wellness plan." I said, "All right, cool." I went for a while, once every week, and now I go twice a month. And it just does something for me. And it does something for me in a way that I feel like I can't get to, if that makes sense. It's like,
They do.
yeah,
No, see what you mean.
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. And that's and I think I love that you have like a whole, like you said, a whole wellness thing, right? I I really like to fall back from using the trending words, right? I don't, and even though mindset is a trendy word, like mindset is like my everyday thing.
right,
So that's just something that I'm gonna use forever. But like a lot of people, when you see the social media aesthetics and the, the pretty reels that, somebody's in the tub and stuff. Hey, but all those crazy negative thoughts that that person could be thinking about while they sitting in that tub, baby, that ain't self-care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being honest, like it's the facts. And I want us to like, like we said, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with understanding that you are in transformation mode all the time. What you did 2 and 3 and 4 years ago may not be what you're aligned with now. And that could be from a belief standpoint. That can be from a value standpoint. There's a lot of values that I no longer carry that I was raised with. And I'm okay with breaking that societal barrier because a lot of us will be like, oh, my mom raised me this way. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But is that who you are now?
right,
Is that who you are now? Have you sat with yourself and really said, no, I'm actually struggling with this. I struggle with doing this a certain way, because if
right,
you're struggling with that, it ain't for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I want us to like be more mindful of self.
right,
We're not supposed to be like somebody else. Do I still have my loud mouth in crazy ways? Absolutely. But I tell you one thing, I'm way more empowered now because I identify with them, I embrace them, and I'm unapologetic as hell about them. That's
yes, 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 yes to all of that. And I think one has to recognize, right, when we think about that, of kind of like the the ideas, what they've been taught, and understanding we've all been taught and raised according to the way they lived life, according to their trauma, their pain, what they saw, what they've been fed. And when you think about that, then you have to start asking yourself, what do you want to keep and what do you want to give back? And when you can start doing that assessment, then you can realize there's some things that you've been given that's not even really yours. And so one of the things, like both of my parents could be emotionally unavailable. Usually you only have one parent that's like emotionally unavailable,
right.
right? And so it's interesting. I remember I constantly tried to share my emotions, like be emotionally in tune, and it was not the thing to do in my household.
Mm.
And so what I did was I learned how to, quote unquote, right, turn off those emotions. But I was somebody who was emotionally available. I was somebody who wanted to share, who wanted to talk, who wanted to talk it out, understand the other person's view, so then I could be understanding. Like I remember at 16, my mom probably told me from 12 to 16, you need to go to counseling. I was like, well, put me in it. And so at 16, I could drive myself. And I drove myself. And I remember my mom used to tell us, she was a teacher. And so she used to tell us, make sure that there's nobody else, other's kids in the house when she gets home, and give her like 30 minutes. So she used to come home and be like, hey, how was your day? And I'm like, oh, it was like this, and the third. And then give her an hour later, she would ask me the same freaking question. And I was like, oh, so you weren't listening? Like I used to get mad because
Yeah.
what I'm answering it like, are you serious? And so I remember I went to counseling and I was like, look, I just want to understand this. Now,
Right.
my mom asked me a question, but then 30 minutes to an hour later, she doesn't, she asked me the same freaking question and I'm getting upset.
Right.
And so she like broke it down. I was like, oh, that's all I need. Like for me, it was just understanding. So that for me, I'm not saying I'm 100% understanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really hard to understand. And so me being raised in a family that it wasn't safe for them to be emotional because of their trauma and the pain and the loss that they had, I learned to how to be that, but I desired to be emotionally available. And so when you do that assessment, you really figure out what's yours and what's not. And I remember when I first started seeking out healing as an adult, I was like, I just want to be soft around the edges.
Oh,
I just want to be soft around the edges. And I just worked towards that because I was like, I'm hard for reasons that I shouldn't have to. They're not my reasons, you know? And when you do that assessment of what's yours and what did you come in this world with and
yeah,
what your personality is and what's been given to you from your parents, then as you do that assessment, you can pick and choose what you want and why you want that.
yeah.
Uh, and so it's really important to do that assessment.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Lord, girl, talk about it. Talk about it. Like that assessment is everything. You just don't know how much more at peace you're going to be. You just don't know how much happier you're going to be, and that inner happiness, not that happiness we see on social media. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, y'all. I ain't bashing social media, because there are people that are genuinely happy on social media. Okay. So I'm going to say that disclaimer, but it's a lot of people that are not, and they use that as a shade, as a form of a cover, and I don't always think that that's healthy,
Right.
but like really identifying those, aspects of your life, it's necessary,
Right.
it's necessary. And maybe y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all, it's going to be uncomfortable, baby. It's probably gonna be a little ugly, but it's something that if we really want to be who we desire, because I love that you said the word desire, because that is what it's about, who we desire to be, you got to really do that inner work. And whether you do it on your own, whether you have a coach, a counselor, trauma therapist, whatever it is, I please encourage you to at least initiate that. There are so many resources out here. There are toll-free resources. I'm on the board of directors here for my local NAMI affiliate, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Like, we have resources that we provide people that call us all the time, just asking for that support groups. Be okay with getting yourself involved in things like that. Be okay with going to sit in a support group. There's more than just AA meetings out there now, y'all. There are so many different, things, but find your tribe. If you're around family that all they want to do is have trauma and fight and holler all the time, then that just might not be who you're supposed to be around. That don't mean you don't love your family. That doesn't mean that. It means that you want to heal and understand that everybody ain't gonna want to heal. Everybody ain't gonna want to take that journey. And you gotta be okay with walking that journey sometimes by yourself.
That is so true. No, and it's so rewarding to get on the other side and understand that healing is ever evolving. It's always
Oh my God.
heal,
Yes.
but but
Healing. Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
when you get to those iterations, you're like, oh man, I know like when I started in 2012, like the intense healing, there was days that I was go to sleep before I would go to sleep. I'm like, if I didn't wake up, it wasn't that I was suicidal, but if I didn't wake up, I was a-okay with not waking up because the work that I was doing was so heavy
Yeah.
and it just wasn't mine. It was previous generations that had been passed down that I was like, oh my gosh, but I continued through. And it wasn't easy. The person that I worked with, she was like this, like it's almost like she was a spiritual mom, like a soul mom or whatever. But I went to Arizona, like she first lived in the DC area and then she moved to Arizona. I was going to Arizona probably like 3 or 4 times a year to
Mm.
work to like I knew that there was something that I wanted to feel and I didn't ever want to sit with the fact that I gave up on myself, that I didn't try hard enough to get to that place that I wanted to feel because I knew if I knew that there was some feeling that I was looking for, that meant that I could get there. And so I
Oh,
just like, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to work at this and I'm going to work at this. And I did. And to be where I'm at now, I'm not saying I don't have those great days because we all do, right?
absolutely.
But they don't feel the way they used to do because I've been able to give the people back their stuff
Mm.
and
Talk about it. Ooh.
be able to show up as Marsha. And yeah, I'm a part of this family system, but even if something triggers me, I am aware of the birthplace of it, and I get to pick and choose how I want to show up with it.
That is so dope. I love it. I love it. That's where I want all of us to be able to identify where it came from and understand that it's not yours. And whatever is yours, work on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo, girl. I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. As we close out here, please let the audience know like what you recommend, for somebody that is, really trying to embrace that part of the journey and really trying to step into that and, maybe having to break away from some things. What you
Hmm.
recommend?
So one thing well, maybe two or three.
Yeah.
The first thing I would recommend is do something that involves your body. And what I mean by that is this: do something like yoga or Zumba where you're moving your body, because then your body will inform you. So we are a society that's really outside of our body, but when we give our body attention, then you will get signs. And so that can be your wellness, right? That can be your self-care is very trendy. So I'm right there with you, Coach K, right? So I just need you to get realigned with your body. So it could be any type of movement. It could be movement in the house, but you got to consistently do that. So that's one thing. Two, it's writing a letter to yourself,
Mm.
and really practicing gratitude, but also being able to talk about the things that you might not feel comfortable talking to your really good friends about because you don't want them to look at you a certain way. And really just reflect on what were some of the things that you may have regretted or that you didn't take the opportunity to seize, right? And so as you kind of look at that letter, see what comes out of that. And then I would recommend take a small risk. It could be, hey, I'm gonna go, what am I? The other day I went to aerial yoga, right? I've been to aerial yoga one time before or two times before.
Yeah.
I saw it on Facebook and I was like, oh, wow. And I went and I realized that I don't have a tribe per se where I'm at.
Mhm.
And I realized that. And when I got there, I found a woman who's like working, if there's an interviewing process, but we're just like, she's
Yeah. Yeah.
a part of my tribe. She's a Pilates teacher. And I had to be vulnerable. And I was like, I realized I don't have my tribe. And she's like, when I got here, I cried 2 years straight. And she's like,
Oh,
I need to be a part of your tribe now. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, I got people to introduce you to, and it just was wonderful. And so you got to put yourself out there. One small risk. It could be an event. It could be going to try something so you can get really comfortable with the uncomfortable and you can figure out how you want to maneuver it. But also, I would say get somebody that is a little bit in front of you or wants to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. So you guys can compare notes and you can hold one another accountable.
I love it. I love it. You got to get uncomfortable, y'all. I'm telling you, it ain't gonna steer you wrong. It ain't gonna steer you wrong. All right. Marsha, let them know where they can find you at, sis.
Yeah, so they can find me at marshalistens.com on website, or they can find me on Marsha Listens on YouTube and Marsha Listens on Instagram, and they can find me there. And you
All
can
right, y'all.
subscribe, or you can fill out something on the website, and I would love to talk to you.
Absolutely. And I'll definitely have her information in the podcast notes, y'all. Marsha, it's always a pleasure chatting with you, sis. Like, I super appreciate you being here and dropping some empowering real talk. And, we definitely gonna continue to do what you do. Keep doing what you do. If no one has told you today, sis, I'm proud of you.
Thank
Keep
you.
elevating, keep doing what it is that you do and keep being ME, baby. All right, so or y'all know where y'all can find me at. Of course, make sure you have subscribed to the podcast, to the channel, to everything Coach K Transforms. And I want y'all to stay dope, stay focused, stay empowered, baby. Till next time.